right, cool. I think we are all ready to go. All right, welcome to Good Morning Nintendo, where we come together every week to talk about video games we're playing and discuss news in the industry. If you're watching on YouTube, you can catch us as a podcast on Spotify and iTunes, and hopefully going forward, we'll be streaming. We're streaming it right now, but I have told no one about this ahead of time.
Yeah, I actually like it so far. It's not bad.
Yeah,
So
that should work as long as we don't run into any more technical difficulties, especially on my side. It's been
yeah.
a pain.
Well, if everyone doesn't touch anything, then we should be fine. All
Everybody
right.
move. Everybody just talk.
All right. Don't touch anything in the thing. All right. But so I'm Dane. As always, I'm joined by Dom. Say hello.
Hey.
And but this week we have a special guest. Welcome, Travis.
What's up? What's up?
Travis, you want to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit
Yeah.
about you.
Travis, been in gaming for literally ever. Have way too much stuff. Have way too many opinions on things that probably don't matter, or maybe do. I don't know.
All right.
I
What's
like that.
what's your All right? What's your let's be a little bit more in depth. Let's what's your favorite? Like, just two quick questions. What's your favorite? What's your system of choice? And what's one of your favorite video game franchises?
So, system of choice currently Series X, Microsoft generally overall. Um, and then favorite franchise probably would be Zelda.
Really? I thought you were.
Despite being a Microsoft fan, to be fair, the only video games that have graced my leg are Nintendo. So
Wow, I was gonna say
I was surprised by that.
Halo or Forza, honestly.
I thought you were gonna say Halo.
No, like don't get me wrong, I love Halo. I'm actually replaying through it right now on the Series X. Totally worth it, by the way. But yeah, no, Zelda will always be number one in my heart, going all the way back. So
All right,
That's
cool.
interesting.
That's awesome. That's something I did. I knew you were a fan of Zelda. I didn't think it was your favorite franchise, though. All right, but let's go ahead and get started on then with some of our news. So I just have a quick little piece here, just a little bit of good news to make you all feel good before we get started. My
hey, it's
first
2021. We need that.
so
Seriously.
first story on my report is Ghost of Tsushima fans help with real life Tsushima Island repairs. Ghost of Tsushima fans helped contribute to the restoration of a real-life torii gate on the Japanese island of Tsushima. As reported by Silicon Era, the crowdfunding project to restore the gate at Watatsumi Shrine ended on January 10th, amassing over 27 million yen. According to article from Famitsu, many Ghost of Tsushima fans rallied behind the funding drive, and in the end it managed to achieve 542% of the initial 5 million yen target. The Watatsumi Shrine gate has been partially destroyed by a typhoon in September 2020, and repairs should begin in April 2021, although pandemic-related delays could slow that process. I mean, not a whole lot to really talk about there. I mean,
Well,
that is pretty cool though.
I will
That's
say, this is the one thing that I can say, despite all of the negativity that can be brought in around the gaming community, this is something that I always rally behind, is that when there is a good fight to fight, generally, if gamers feel strongly about it, they step up in ways that most people don't expect.
yeah, that's true. Like they just I lately it's good. That's a great point to bring up because lately I've been watching Games Done Quick,
Yep.
and sometimes you forget that like they raise what millions of dollars
Yeah,
every year. They do this for just speed running games. Like sometimes
right.
I'm like blown away when I see the donation tally and it's like $3 to $4 million, and you're like, whoa, these people like just flew out here, played some games, and are donating millions of dollars to charities. Like it's insane.
Right, right. And for those who might not know the yen to dollar conversion ratio, I just did a quick Google search on it. Uh, to the American dollar, that means they raised $260,000
Jeez.
in American. So that well went above what most people would expect, for any sort of crowdfunding campaign.
Yeah,
And
dude, that's crazy.
that to me can show the power of what one game can do when it's set somewhere that is physical in today's world.
Yeah, that's insane.
All
Especially
right.
a good game. I haven't played that yet.
All right. Moving on to the next story. This one, maybe Travis will have a bit more to say about it being an Xbox fan. Xbox Live Gold pricing is going up. This is from Robert Anderson at IGN. A brand new post on Xbox Wire has unveiled plans to increase the cost of Xbox Live Gold, the online gaming service Microsoft has been using on Xbox platforms for over 18 years. According to Microsoft, this is taking place in order to evaluate the current value and pricing of the services provided. As a result, Live Gold is going to jump up in price. However, if you're an existing Live Gold 6-month or 12-month member, the price will continue to renew at the old price of $9.99 per month or $24.99 for 3 months. For those who don't fall into this bracket, a 1 month membership will now cost $10.99, 3 months is $29.99, and 6 months is $59.99, or the local market equivalent. This means that the price of a 1 month membership has increased by one, while the price of 3 months is now $5 more. Blog post also points out that a notable trick for Xbox users, you can convert your existing Live membership into Game Pass Ultimate with the new price increase. The cost between the two services isn't as dramatic. Game Pass Ultimate still costs $14.99 per month and includes all the benefits of Live Gold as well as access to Microsoft's used catalog of downloadable and streamable games on both Xbox and PC. And yeah, I think we're just gonna.
So
There's more there, but let's just cut it there. That's everything we
yeah,
need
I
to know.
mean, so like, don't
About
get me wrong.
time.
Yeah, like, don't get me wrong. Like, we with the amount of services that Xbox Live is crossing, it's no longer just a way to connect to people you want to play with or people online to like for live multiplayer, which is what we saw when its first iteration in 360. Now, the price hasn't really changed. Obviously, it's there's like the silver membership and all that stuff is gone. There's no tiered membership to it, but overall, for what Microsoft gives with their service and the support with their service, I feel like it was inevitable. Um,
Seriously.
yeah, to see that jump. Um, and being that they're gonna continue holding the price for those who are already subscribed, you know, I could see some uproar about people who are like, yeah, I've already paid for this now, or I've been paying so much for so many years. Why is it going up now? That kind of cancels out that argument. It's just going forward with new signups.
Yeah, and it's honestly it's about time they do this, and I feel like they should. I wouldn't even be surprised if they raised it more, just because a little while ago, I mean, this like Travis said, the services they provide are insane. Like everyone talks about the value of Xbox's services, and there is a lot to it. And I remember a while ago, someone interviewed Jim Ryan, the head of PlayStation, and one of the questions they asked him was, "Hey, what do you think about putting, pretty much what's your thought on offering pretty much the same exact subscription services that Microsoft offers?" And Jim Ryan was straight
Yeah,
up like, "It's not sustainable."
yeah, I'm
And
recording
you
right
know,
now.
no wonder that like it's like you gotta at some point you have to think like is it? I mean, the amount of things you get from Game Pass is insane, insane.
Right.
The level of games that they it's just like how is it sustainable? It's like whoa, it's insane.
Yeah, and I mean, you're talking, it was available in 2005, right? 2005. That's now 16 years ago. I mean, originally it was available in 2002 with the original Microsoft Xbox, but it wasn't at the level that we see it now, at least as far as like online multiplayer plus benefits. Um, but the price has never moved.
Me,
It's it's been consistently there all the time. And as somebody who has experience in, you know, selling these types of memberships, while the value of the dollar has gone down, the value of the service has gone up. So you're still getting so much more for your money's worth than you even did back then.
Oh yeah, dude, it's insane.
I mean,
It's
like,
like it.
if you just want to look at like for that $11 for the 1 month, like next, like you get your online membership next, well, for the month, but also like I have the games for gold for next month coming out that are coming out. You get for free with your membership. You get Gears 5. You're gonna get the Resident Evil remake, Indiana Jones and the Emperor's Tomb, and it's not as Dandara and all Dead Rising remaster. So it's just like that's 5 games. Usually you get
And
4, but like that's
and
like you're paying like a buck or two per game there just
and
for that
don't they
alone.
give you don't they just straight up give you free games too?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
The games with
yeah,
gold.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
those are
And
the
then
free
you
ones. I
also,
thought you were talking
yeah,
about the like because they have there's like so many levels to it. It's like the free games, the like the discounted games,
right.
the 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 like subscription game. Like it's insane.
And especially with a lot of these games going free to play, I feel like it's definitely driving that market for it. So you're talking Destiny 2, free to play now, Rocket League, free to play now, and then you
Oh
talk about your
shoot, Rocket
Apex,
League's
your
free to play.
Fortnite, yeah, all that stuff like being free to play. Now you're bringing your people who are going to be in that ecosystem and want to play those types of games, want to play online with them, have to buy into the Xbox Live membership. Um, so if anybody who still for some reason hadn't been signed up to Xbox Live, might give them more of a reason to, with these free to play games as well coming out. So marketing wise, business wise, it's a good decision, I think.
Oh yeah, dude. I think they definitely did a smooth job on that. It just blows my mind of just how like consumer friendly it is. It's just so rare that you're
Uh,
like, oh wait, this is
Yeah,
actually like good for me, nice. And normally you're like, oh yeah, like freaking, like you take a look at like I would say, Nintendo, you can give them some slack because it's $20. Like I could, it's a
Yeah,
lot
but
of
you
money.
don't really get a whole lot. But
Yeah, you
what
don't.
I want to keep the ball rolling here. We're moving on. We kind of skipped last week, so I have a lot of stuff in the doc for this week to go through, and I want to try and hit the big beats. So I
lightning
mean,
round. Let's go.
yeah, it's just like, well, oh, this is we're lightning round is when we get to Cyberpunk. There's like 3 things that we're gonna gloss over, like 2 of them.
Oh
Oh,
man, you're seriously gonna try to have me gloss over Cyberpunk? All right, we'll try.
well, I mean, like it's just like I'm gonna gloss over 2 of the stories that I have because it's
Okay,
just like yeah, this is what add these to the pile. Whereas one is like one we'll get in depth, and then you can talk about Cyberpunk to your heart's content.
all right,
Oh,
because I have a lot of hot takes.
yo, no, I mean, like I'm sure they're not hot takes. I'm sure I agree with you on them. Well, so next up, there was a stream yesterday for the new Resident Evil Village game. So we got a whole bunch of new
Yeah.
details coming out from Capcom about Resident Evil Village. Capcom premiered first gameplay from Resident Evil Village, the 8th main entry in the survival horror franchise, during its Resident Evil showcase on Thursday, giving fans a glimpse of the direct sequel to Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. It appears that Village will be heavily influenced by another game in the franchise, beloved Resident Evil 4, based on its setting, characters, and inventory system. While Village will retain the first person perspective of Resident Evil 7 and its protagonist, Ethan Winters, the sequel is dripping with RE4 vibes from its village setting to its quirky in game merchant. Here's what we learned about Resident Evil Village. Ethan returns. We've known that Ethan Winters. All right, I'm trying to just dust through this. Resident Evil 4 vibes. All
Yeah, he was the protagonist from Seven or Biohazard or however you want to call it.
all Resident Evil 4 style inventory management, Tetris returns to the franchise. Players will also be able to craft items like first aid kits and ammunition, but it's the mutated villagers and creepy castle village that feel a lot like we're stepping back into the world of Resident Evil 4. The castle village is incredibly detailed and ornately decorated, and seemingly run by an evil cultist family with the mysterious Mother Miranda at the very top. The decaying and dilapidated house of Resident Evil 7 is gone. Village brings back that classic Resident Evil mansion atmosphere with suits of armor, marble statues, and an ostentatious foyer that will likely serve as your entry point into the castle. Village will also bring back a merchant character. This one's named the Duke, according to producer Pete Fabiano. The Duke will buy and sell weapons and other supplies and has feet staples. Players will have to destroy sundry vases, then decorative objects with a trusty knife to find supplies hidden throughout the castle. Resident Evil Village will be released on May 7th, and Capcom confirmed last gen console versions of the game for PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. PS5 owners can download an exclusive Resident Evil Village demo called Maiden. Resident Evil Reverse is a new competitive multiplayer that included with Village. Ubisoft's The Division 2 is getting Resident Evil themed cosmetics. So, guys, did you guys watch the trailer? Have you
Yes,
seen the
I was
stream?
actually super excited for this because there were rumors that they were going to finally announce the Resident Evil 4 remake. And so I was like, okay, cool. Or they were going to announce some other stuff. Reverse, first of all, is stupid. Don't care about that. Let's just like they need to. Resident Evil
The
should
multi-
never be multiplayer. It's like
yeah, I
its game
mean,
design is just so like opposite to that. I played
Is
yeah,
the demo Maiden, and I hated it because and to be fair, they tell you it's just a visual demo. Like there's no like there it's Resident Evil. Like it's definitely like Resident Evil, but it's just like there's no combat, no nothing. So you kind of just get to experience the atmosphere of the house and everything. And I was kind of a little annoyed. It was like 10 minutes long too. Like I finished it pretty quickly. And then at the end, I was just like, oh, what the heck? Like I kind of wanted a little more, maybe experience the even though you really don't need to experience the combat in Resi games. But I just thought it was pretty short. But overall, I'm hyped on it. I kind of thought it'd be coming sooner than May, to be honest. And I'm not surprised by it releasing on PS4 and Xbox. Like I feel like that's a given. It's Capcom. There's no way. There's only that's almost 5 million almost 5 million PlayStation 5 sold and almost 3 million Xbox Series S and X's sold. So there's no way that's their only capital. There's no way. I knew that they were obviously going to have a PS4 and Xbox One version. It's going to be interesting to see how they compare next to each other, though.
all right. So I have a question. What do you think of the title Village? Because like when I was watching, like it wasn't something I dived deep into. I watched the trailer and like all I was seeing was the castle. Is this like is Village still like? Can you?
Yes. So there is like a literally at the end of the demo, you get a key to go out of the mansion. But the maiden or whatever her name is, she kills you. So, but there is like a village. But yeah, the name it's not like I don't think you'll be exploring an entire village, to be honest. And if so, it'll probably be the smallest village you've ever seen. I think the main um I think they're gonna have the same approach, honestly, they did in 7, where you're really just in the house. You were in the baker's home. I mean, and then there was a second home they had, and then like a but it's handled well. I'll say that. Like it's pretty big.
All right.
But
What about
Village, I probably wouldn't have named it that.
what about you,
yeah.
Travis? Do you have any thoughts on it?
So I'm gonna be straight out here. Resident Evil has really never been my thing.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I know, Dom. I
Both of
know,
you, I'm ashamed.
blows your mind.
Me, like I'm not a
Like
horror person either, so it's like it's a big
same,
hole for me.
same. So like horror things just like don't interest me. Number one, I guess my thing from what I do know and from what I have consumed. Now this is just a personal opinion. Does not take everything I say with a grain of salt. Um, the lack of success from Resident Evil 6 and that whole fiasco with the multiplayer and all that
Oh, it's bad.
right, like adding another multiplayer aspect to a game, didn't need it. I think if they would have taken it the way of Last of Us, where it's just an episodic story, it's going to continue the storyline, and that's all it's ever gonna be. I think that would be something better for most people, because I think I think that multiplayer is just gonna be there. People are gonna play it for 5 minutes, and then they're gonna go finish the storyline or go grab something else.
Yeah, and
Um,
they did the same thing with Resident Evil 3 remake. They included a multiplayer in that, and you know what I did? Immediately uninstalled it after it
right.
installed. I was like, I'm not playing. Just Resident Evil does not do multiplayer. Like it's the strangest thing to me.
Yeah, I just don't think the formula is there for it.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, and I mean it's like the same thing when you look at like the Metal Gear series when it went to Metal Gear Survive. Um,
Oh,
Garbage, absolutely garbage. Is definitely a thorn in the side of the industry. Like, don't get me wrong, I know they lost Hideo Kojima at that point, and they were just kind of finishing up contracts, putting out what they can. But like when Village, which is something that's going to be made by let's be honest here, a AAA company such as Capcom, you would think they would look more at what their demographic is after and what people have praised. And speaking off of the success of Biohazard 7, and its gold subsequent re-release with the DLC and the VR inclusion, that's what really brought people to it.
yeah. And that's
Was
isn't that the
Yeah,
Seven's the best selling game in the series?
right, right, and it sold super well. I think and I don't know if this is to do with the fact that the PS5 is not currently, doing much for VR or what, but I think it would have been better to see them put their energy into rather seeing a multiplayer spin-off side thing to could have been a VR side thing, or do we know if this one's going to have VR compatibility? Because I believe that's where horror should go into that VR category. Um, I actually have one right here that I recently played. God, that's terrible. But it's the Paranormal Activity VR game.
Oh yeah, I'm
Um,
out.
you want to feel a chill down your spine, you play this game.
I don't think I
Um,
could.
yeah, and this is what I think. If you're gonna do a side project and a spin-off from your main series, this is something you could probably put money into, is doing like a straight VR version of the game or VR side quest.
That'd be interesting. I'd like to see that. I mean, like, it's not something. I mean, like, I definitely think that's what people want, but like, it's just like I just can't like that level of immersion for horror. Like, when I was a kid, like I tried playing Call of Cthulhu: Dark Corners of the Earth, and like I heard something in that game like very early on, and I immediately stopped wanted to stop playing it. So I'm a
No,
bit of a chicken.
yeah, no, same. I mean, literally, that's why I've played Paranormal Activity twice now, and that's about it. Literally, if you have a good headset, stuff like that, the type of immersion that you would get from that game, it is meant to chill you. But I feel like, and especially after last year, nobody could really do anything. Doing something that would be equivalent to a horror house or some sort of themed adventure in the horror genre would really help people who didn't get to experience stuff like that during the COVID-19 pandemic.
All right, all right,
Yeah, I think it definitely adds a level of immersion, especially with like horror fans. Like one thing with horror fans, like they love horror. Like it's
Right,
like the grosser you can get, the better.
right. And it also depends on the level, what type of horror too. You got American horror and you got Japanese horror, which is a whole nother conversation.
all right. We're gonna go into the next story. This is our rock block of hot takes for Cyberpunk 2077. All so this first article is something I'm just gonna graze over because it's lightly mentioned at like the end of another one. But all Polish competition Watchdog is investigating Cyberpunk 2077. So there is Poland's official Office of Competition and Consumer Protection is investigating CD Projekt Red over what it was it specifically and what actions had saying that the organization approached CD Projekt Red to understand the issues with the game and what actions had been taken to fix them. So that's to prevent it from accused of unfair market practice. So like that's one thing that's going on. All like we're gonna I have we have the all there was another article that came out this past week that was just like I just put the headline in it as just like another cyberpunk lawsuit and this was filed and that was there was an article on that from Matt Purslow at IGN. We also last week we had a video come out for where the head of development came out and said like, hey, put this on like the head of the company the and also on our board members. But then, like for me personally, like being editorializing that a bit, that video went on too long in my opinion because like he said if the personally I think it should have just stopped with him saying hey put this on us but and then he goes on to talk about it and in the full article that I'm going to read here is I'm going to so from that I'm going to hop into one article I'm going to read from all Matt Kim at IGN that discusses a report from Bloomberg that Jason Schreier wrote this past week, and I'm just going to read that real quick. In a report from Bloomberg's Jason Schreier, developers of CG Projekt Red knew the game was not ready for launch in 2020. According to one developer, they expected the game to be ready in 2022 based on the progress the team was making back in 2019. Beyond just bugs and glitches, Cyberpunk's 2077's overall performance and playability on consoles like the base PS4 and Xbox One have been reviled. IGN gave the console versions of Cyberpunk 2077 specifically a 4 in its review. One hurdle was that the developers tried to develop the engine and the game simultaneously, a decision one developer on Cyberpunk says was like trying to drive a train while the tracks are being laid in front of you at the same time, according to Bloomberg. Cyberpunk 2077's console versions, not the PC version, have been hammered by players for glitches and bugs, some bugs which are the game breaking and end up crashing the entire game or sometimes the system it's being played on. Developers seemingly push through challenges by believing they could overcome these obstacles themselves, similar to the infamous BioWare magic, but Cyberpunk 2077 was also developed through periods of intense crunch. In a follow-up tweet, Schreier claims that despite promises from management that crunch would not be required, some managers guilted employees into working more hours by saying other employees will work longer to pick up the slack. Salaries were also reported low, with one junior programmer reportedly making around $700 a month. Just want to stop right here. There's more in this article.
Yeah.
If we can go back to like these next few things, but like I just want to stop there at $700 a month. I'm just like I make close to that in a week. It's just like
Yeah.
no one should be making $700 in their
In a month.
month if that's
Yeah,
their main job. It's just like
I
that's
I
bullshit.
just looked that up. So on a normal 40-hour work week, that means you're making $4.40, give or $4.38 an hour. So
Jeez.
That's some
yeah.
like there's a lot of stuff that's wrong here, but like that is some messed up stuff. But like
So like what's so right now the was it the United States federal minimum wage is what? And was it like
725, I believe.
7.25?
it,
So
while you're doing that math, I just want to. This is what I was saying about last week's video. Is just like, but during the message, I can't pronounce that name. Claimed that CDPR's internal testing did not show many of the bugs and issues players eventually encountered on consoles. The statement, some on social media, says does a disservice to QA testers whose job it is to find and evaluate bugs and performance issues. Like they knew that the game was buggy. They knew like
right.
that no one got QA got codes for testing that game before launch. Like some of the people like they claim like they gave out codes beforehand, but none of those reviews were saying anything about console version or like the people that I tend to follow. They bought their copy of the game on the day of launch. to try it on consoles. It's just like they're like the thing is like in my personal opinion, CDPR needs to shut up, stick their heads in the sand, and like don't say anything until you can actually say something good. It's just like that's my personal opinion with them. It's just like
I hear you. Like I get that. Like I'm glad to hear them come out and correct the blame. Like I hear that, but is it too late for that damage control at this point?
Honestly, I think you're right. I think
Yeah,
it's to the point where it's just like PS5 and Xbox Series X versions of the game will be the like definitive release.
right.
Like I just think that the ship has sailed. They
yeah,
screwed up.
but even then, like how much damage has been done on that? Because like I
Apparently
know,
though, apparently though they've actually made like a lot of money from the game. I
yeah,
don't
it
know
says
how.
that they at the end here it says that they got their that they got their that they've made their money from the game. But it's just like I'm personally like even if the PS5 and Xbox series games come out and they work flawless, like I'm not gonna give CDPR $70 for after how they've treated their employees and how they tried to launch this first game. There's no way that I'm gonna give them that money.
Understand. So, like those of us who do already have current gen or last gen now copies, like myself, knowing that we're going to get a free upgrade with it is going to be, or possibly they said free upgrade. Hopefully, they'll stick to that. Um, that's what excites me because I'm already invested in it. I've already played it. I literally have a collector's or standard edition guide for the game. Um, here's I guess here's my counter argument to a lot of things. Now, barring the human and employee rights fiasco that it is, and that's a big thing, and that's not something forgivable. That's not something a company should ever let be brushed under the rug. But if we look at it just from the standpoint of the video game itself, um, I would highly challenge people to look back to the original days of Skyrim. Skyrim on the PS3 was absolute garbage. Now that was due to the PS3 architecture and the way that it handled RAM with GPU loads and everything. But I can load up Skyrim right now on my Xbox Series X and run into the same more or less types of bugs. Now, it was acceptable back then, or it was easily more accepted because the technology wasn't there, right? Um, but I also want to remind a lot of people when Skyrim was being developed and made then, so was this technically. The beginnings of the development of this game, whether before coding anything like that actually went down, this game was being developed in some way within their house. So this game's been in development for way too long. And it became one of those things that it was like when you look at it from a business point of view, the people who are running the business wanted to get something out. Now, am I excusing their behavior? Not at all, in no way. But at that point, they needed to recoup some sort of revenue to continue developing the game, and I think that's what it was. It was the whoever sitting in these chairs saw this deficit going into the development of this game and just were like, we need to release something to recoup these losses and continuously develop. Now that everything's now gone live service and this, that, and the third, almost every game you buy these days, if you were to play it without day one patches, is going to run like CD Projekt Red has Cyberpunk running right now.
But
That's
like
crazy to think.
my counter thing to that is like a bit more in the branding or the marketing. Is just like one of the things that like couldn't they have maybe put this out instead of saying this is the game day one version, this is their 1.0 version. Couldn't they? I think what a lot of people have tried saying, and I don't think I'm original in saying this, is couldn't they have done this as and instead of saying this is the full game as it is, ship it as early access. Like, if they know that this game is buggy, because like someone had to have known this. With how they run on the last gen consoles, yes, like they work, it works well enough on like, and I think even buggy, well, like it's buggy like in the way that I think like Skyrim was more so, or like how people kind of remember Skyrim being on PC. Like that's the current build, but like there's no, I don't think like in any way it should have shipped on last gen consoles at all. If they
Yeah,
had come out and said like open act, like early access, beta, or something like that, then I think like this whole situation would have been completely different.
right.
Yeah,
No,
I agree, and I think it's unfortunate. I think it's to the point where Todd Howard once said like, "Oh, we always release, you guys always re-release Skyrim, blah blah blah," and he was like, "Yeah, we'll stop when people stop buying it." And unfortunately, I think Cyberpunk, it's already proven itself with in the sales department. So like, in all honesty, CD Project Red could do jack squat, and I think they'd still be fine because people have already bought it, man. They voted with their wallets, and they bought the game.
yeah, and I mean, like, as much as I know that CD Projekt Red offered the refunds and everything,
Oh yeah,
um,
that's right.
I I know people have done it, but I don't know a lot of people personally that have done it. A lot of people that I've talked to that's played the game, I have multiple friends that own it across different platforms. Not a single person has told me they've tried to return it. They don't get me wrong. We've all run into bugs. I've ran into them, but most of the bugs that I run into, I hit a I hit a quick save because I learned from my Skyrim days you quick save every 20 feet. Um, but I hit a quick save, and whatever bug I just ran into that may have been distracting my game, for whatever reason, is gone. It takes a quick reset, which, while yes, it's not perfect, it's not ideal. It's not game breaking. Now I know on current or like on last gen original systems, it just doesn't hold up. And that kind of goes with almost any newer release game. Play Warzone on an original Xbox One, and you are going to have the worst performance of your life. It's nigh on unplayable other than multiplayer because you don't have the draw distance, you don't have the load times, all that stuff you're going to run into. So, is it so much that they shouldn't have released it on last gen systems, or should have they came out and said on the release this is not recommended for original systems, like we see on boxes where it says like Xbox One X enhanced or Xbox Series X enhanced? Could they have put something on there? This game is not recommended for last gen original consoles, or put out a press release. We've all seen the yellow Cyberpunk CD Projekt Red press releases. We could have gotten one of those. Hey, before we release this game, we want to let people know. It was, I think, the fact that they never said anything and they never gave anybody a chance to say anything to the public about those issues is really where the deceit lies.
Yeah, it's just like that's
Yeah,
interesting because like, I mean, like I feel you, like I understand where you're coming from there, but like at the same time, it's just like they announced. I think I don't remember what year they announced. It was like 2015 or something, like
Oh
crazy
no,
early.
I think it was like
like
2012.
no, if I'm not mistaken, I believe the original um, announcement was like an E3 in 2008 or something
Oh
like that.
wow.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
I mean, it.
let me.
The thing is, like, like these games were always like, or as far as we know, they were always mentioned or always aiming for PS4, Xbox, or Xbox One, and
Right.
it's just like I feel like they would have gotten some sort of backlash on that if they had came out and said like we're releasing on that it on here, but we don't think you should play it on it. I feel like there would have been some sort of blowback on that, but I don't think it would have been as bad if so long as like if there had been any sort of transparency about it, rather like because like that week where like people were getting their review codes like that week before it came out, and like no, everyone was just like, well, it's a bit buggy, but like it's kind of like Skyrim level buggy, but like so like it works, but like imagine it'll play the same as on console, and then like when we got to the day of when it finally came out, it's just like, and it was the amount of people that are just like it just blew up. Like I don't know. I think if there had been some transparency, something had happened. They said beta, or they said or like anything that they could have done. Like if they had been any sort of transparency with us, it would have been. I think we would be having a very different conversation right now. Period.
For sure. No, I
Yeah.
definitely get you. I definitely
I think
get you.
the simple fact of just being like, like exactly what Travis said, just straight up be like, yeah, we're gonna sell it to you, but for those of you that own, PS4, Xbox One, it might not run great. Just the simple fact of like, let us know.
I mean, especially nowadays, like our consoles are getting closer and closer to PCs. Every PC game you have has a system requirement. So just because you own a PC doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be able to run that game. You have to make sure your PC components are going to be up to spec with that. And with this, I guess this pressure on the gaming industry to provide and continue service for legacy consoles, due to budgets, finances, stuff like that. People are using their technology a lot longer than they used to. Um, it does put a major strain on a developer because now you're developing for two totally separate architectures or more. Because I mean, the iterations between the performance of the Xbox One S, the Xbox One X, the PS4, even the to the PS4 Pro. I mean, those you're talking totally different performance specs, and to have something that's going to run across all of that, you're gonna have to hit the lowest common denominator, which is of course like it's that's your choice. Do you make it to have high end? It's gonna be gorgeous looking. It's gonna have all this immersion. It's gonna have all this stuff. Um, but then you're limiting it to your high end PCs, your current gen or new gen systems, or do you hit that lowest common denominator to try to make it somewhat playable across every platform? And that's going to be the problem there.
All right. I feel like we're kind of hitting the same notes over and over again right now. So I think we're gonna move on to our next one. Oh man, there is so much stuff I want to talk about still. Oh, we definitely have to hit Lucasfilm Games. Hey, I want to go over that one.
I have some Star Wars hot takes for that too. So
Okay. I just kind of want like a bit of a palate cleanser after that one. So I'm gonna run through Super Mario 3D World details. Just as a quick little palate cleanser after that. This
another
right up.
Nintendo re-release.
Yeah. This one comes from us to us from Joe Scribbles at IGN, a made up name. Oh, so Super Mario. So they're adding a snapshot mode. 3D World now includes a version of Super Mario Odyssey snapshot mode, which allows you to freeze time, adjust the image, and change filters. Collectible stamps previously used for the Wii U Miiverse are now usable as snapshot mode and can be applied to walls in your shots. All Bowser Fury new details. I actually got a lot more interested when this whole
Oh
trailer
yeah,
came out.
Bowser's
Oh,
Fury looks great.
Bowser's Fury, a full spin-off adventure, takes place in the Kingdom of Cats, Lake Cat Lap Cat, featuring cat-themed enemies, architecture, and more. You're tasked with collecting cat shines spread across the kingdom. Bowser Jr. will appear for solo players, aiding the player, but can be controlled by a co-op partner. It's not clear if online co-op is supported. After a certain amount of time playing in Lake Lapcat, the gigantic Fury Bowser will appear, dropping from the sky and changing the weather. Fury Bowser's appearance sees spikes falling from the sky and changing the terrain. Fury Bowser will attack players using powers that can destroy cover. After an unspecified amount of time, Fury Bowser will retreat, returning to Lake Lapcat to normal for a time. Collecting enough cat shines will allow you to pick up the Giga Bell power up, turning Mario into the kaiju-sized cat Mario we saw in the trailer. Online listing claims that the game will only take 2.9 gigabytes of storage space. And
Nintendo for you.
then we got some. Oh, then they showed off the amiibo for it a bit. This actually changed my opinion of this game. Being like, I wasn't gonna buy it or
Oh,
before,
I was.
but
I
like,
was.
I kind of want to play it now, and like, I would really like to play it co-op because I would like to play as Bowser Jr. personally.
As long
I how many? I played this game probably like 3 or 4 times on my Wii U. I love 3D World. I think it's a great, probably honestly my favorite 3D. Well, I wouldn't really call it, but it's probably honestly my favorite Mario title. And I was already gonna buy it day one. And then when I saw this, I was like, it looks like it's a little more open world, which is nice, kind of a little more sandboxy than 3D World was, and it just looks so good. And then on top of that, it's also releasing with a Switch. Well, it's releasing the same day as like that Mario themed Switch is, the blue and red one, which is like kind of weird. I don't think it looks that great, but it doesn't look terrible either.
so before we get into that, like here's my question, like I'm always wary whenever Nintendo puts out a Mario game with a co-op controlled person or co-op and assisted uh feature, cuz let's remind the Mario Galaxy co-op,
Oh yeah,
you got to collect and shoot star pieces like
Yeah, even
uh,
Odyssey's co-op was terrible. Someone
right.
plays as Cappy. Who wants to do
Right.
that?
That's what I'm saying. Like, if you're gonna make something co-op, make it co-op. Make it so you, your partner, you, your kid, you, whomever, your brother, your sister, your cousin, whatever, can play together and enjoy together. Don't take away from the experience from one person because they're playing as the number two player. I mean, I don't know about you guys. I know I was the youngest, being the number two player
Oh, I
on
was too.
games. Yeah, like you always felt like a third wheel. You always felt like you were just kind of stuck onto the side of the adventure. You never felt like you were truly co-op. You were just joining the
There.
fun.
yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, like that's where like shooters came in. For me and my family, like most of my time playing shooters, like my enjoyable like people talk about like Halo and the story of Halo. I don't care about the story of Halo because I played all of Halo as a co-op. So like all of my memories of Halo are just like us goofing around and doing different things. Because like as like when you're the second person in a shooter game, like you're just another person shooting.
right.
You're not like a second fiddle. This was like for me, for us it was always like if me and my brothers, it was always like party games, shooters, or like anything that like was like a combat arena. We never had any games that were like like the Odyssey, like how Odyssey did it. But I see where you're coming from, but like I didn't get that vibe from this at all because Bowser Jr. can attack and like he has his own special abilities where he paints the
Right.
walls for things. So it
Yeah,
feels better than what Odyssey did. So
yeah,
I'm looking forward to seeing it.
I think Nintendo knows how much of a couch co-op game 3D World was. I don't think they want to take that away. I think Nintendo knows like we better not screw up with this one. I think the biggest issue is if the actual connection's going to be good. Like there's literally what like 3 solid on games you can play online, first party games from Nintendo that you don't have a major issue with, and that's Splatoon 2, Mario Kart, and actually, oh, and Animal Crossing. Other than that, like, have you play Mario Makers 2 online? It's oh my gosh, it's like playing freaking. It's like 3 frames per second. Smash is online, still garbage. So I hope that it's not. It doesn't have a poor connection, which would
right.
suck.
And still without an official Nintendo LAN connection. Everything that you can find now for LAN connection on a Switch has to be done through a third party. So, you know, yeah, and the lack of support for land base is something I think Nintendo needs to really get a focus on sometime soon, either with a new dock, an extension, something. Improve that internet
Yeah,
stability.
Nintendo's always been behind on the times with that stuff, which really sucks.
Yep.
All right, so this one I'm pitching more towards Travis because he's a bit more. He's more into this than me or Damar. All winner, chicken dinner. New PUBG inbound. And this article comes from Jordan Holloman at IGN. More games within the PUBG universe are reportedly set to launch in 2021 and 2022. The news was revealed as part of a Bloomberg interview with Kim Chang-han, the CEO of Krafton. Krafton is the holding company that oversees a number of development studios, including PUBG Studio and Striking Distance, the team working on the Callisto protocol. Chang-han told Bloomberg about his desire to not stay as a one-hit wonder, noting that there are plans to release two new PUBG games in 2021 and 2022. The game coming this year is reportedly a new battle royale mobile tilt set within the game's universe. 2022 will then see the launch of another PUBG-related PC and console game, as well as the previously announced rival horror game. Oh, can't talk there. The Callisto Protocol, which is being helmed by Dead Space alum Jen Schofield. And as we know, the Callisto Protocol is revealed at the Game Awards 2020. So, Travis, I've never played PUBG, but I know that you've played tons of it. What do you think about this? What's your
So,
take?
so number one, PUBG. Don't get me wrong, it was a great game. I played a lot of it. I put an incredible amount of hours into that game, supporting it. When PUBG first came out, there was kind of a hole for that stripped down battle royale. It definitely filled a niche for a while there, until Warzone came along, which I think really has been dominating the battle royale market alongside Apex and of course Fortnite, being usually the top big three. PUBG kind of fell out of the limelight. It the mobile game is being run by Tencent, which
Ugh,
that's a whole
Tencent.
nother topic. I think that especially once the original PUBG Player Unknown left any sort of support with that company, they're just going to be riding on a trademark, right? It's going to be something that's going to be a tagline. It's not going to be in the spirit of the original, because the original game, you got to remember, was born out of a mod. PUBG was a mod for, what was it? I believe it was like Arma or something like that, or
Yeah,
yeah. So it was a mod. So the whole thing about it was like it was just a new perspective to something that on an old engine that everybody played. And then it got picked up and it got sponsored by Xbox. Xbox brought a lot of love into it with Xbox Live, it being part of that service, and Game Pass and all that. So it gained a lot of popularity. But as far as new games coming out for it, I'm not super excited. One is supposed to be a mobile game, so it's just going to be another MOBA that I play for 15 minutes, capture a couple of rounds of, play against a couple of bots that are being run by people with names that nobody can understand, and are just a bunch of random numbers. You're going to get a few wins, call it a day, and never pick it up again. So mobile title, not super exciting for me. I feel like mobile titles, and again, being dominated by Fortnite, Call of Duty Mobile, stuff like that, they're gonna keep that market share. Um, as far as the 2022 console and PC releases, that's something I'm definitely more interested in to see, if they're going to develop on this new generation. It doesn't say, and they haven't said whether it's going to be current generation or last generation. If they're going to build it strictly for the new generation of consoles, will it be a battle royale game? Because this is PUBG related. So are we talking a single player explaining the whole what happened? Are we talking another battle royale with another map and another set of weapons, another set of skins, another set of loot boxes, and another formula we've seen repeated and thrown out there ad nauseum? You know, I think it remains to be seen. We'll see if they give us any more information to feed off of, but it's nothing to grind your feet on.
all right. Yeah, I mean, What about you? What do you think about the Callisto Protocol being in this universe? As like they stated, they're trying to make the scariest game ever, and like this is very much looks like it's going to have themes of Dead Space in it. As like, does that do anything for you, or yeah, like
Again,
that
I mean,
for me?
like I said, go ahead.
For me, the like most of the talk around that comes from the Dead Space developer being attached to it. As like PUBG is, it's like okay, that's a cool, neat little fact. It's not anything that is like doesn't isn't something that's going to sell it, in my opinion.
No, I mean it's cool. It's a theory. I mean everybody has a theory on a horror game. You know, everybody's like, oh, I'm gonna make the scariest horror game ever. Don't get me wrong, Dead Space was absolutely terrifying. Um, but you're talking one person out of a team of thousands, or teams of hundreds at least, of people that all went in, all different creative minds that went in to develop something such as Dead Space, which is an absolutely amazing game. I think one person is gonna bring that much to it. uh no, you know. It's cool that it's going to be in universe, but what is that going to mean? Is that going to mean, oh, you, because you're playing Callisto Protocol, you're going to get a special skin in PUBG, or there's going to be a special tie-in event or something like that? The PUBG doesn't have a universe. It's not really,
Yeah,
not
I mean,
not in the
like
way you would think of other games.
yeah, it's just people on an island. It's just like that.
Right.
You could build that out in any which direction, really.
Right. Right. There's no lore to PUBG. There's no it's a made up island in a made up country that's might vaguely represent Ukraine or something like that, depending on where the map's based in. So being in a universe doesn't mean anything to me. Doesn't give me any detail to it. Uh, they could leave that. They could have left out it was in the PUBG universe, and I'd be just as excited as I am for it with it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. All right, Dom, do you have anything to say on that on this?
Honestly, I think it's just a monetary kind of thing. Like
It's get that branding, get the people that like are
they,
diehard PUBG
yeah,
fans in
like I
there.
said, it's a trademark. It's just like, oh, PUBG, okay, cool. We like, you know what I mean. I don't. I think that's really what it boils down to. Because what lore has PUBG? Like what do you like set in the PUBG? What you
Right.
what?
Right. There's no universe to PUBG. It's just made up place with made up things.
All right,
Yeah, it's just literally a battle royale.
Right.
all right, we're gonna move on into our one of our last stories. Depending on let me check. We are about an hour in, so yeah, if we want to stick to our regular time at all, this last one's going to be it for us for the today, unless we want to go further after this. But we're gonna go through a quick rock block of Lucasfilm game announcements. So last week we got the announcement that Lucasfilm Games is being brought back. So with that, so it first appeared on the Star Wars blog where they just like kind of announced it. That said like Lucasfilm Games is back, and then the day after, the next day, we got all Lucasfilm Games to create Indiana Jones games with Bethesda. Machine Games, Wolfenstein: The New Order, and Wolfenstein: New Colossus and Bethesda are partnering with Lucasfilm Games on a standalone Indiana Jones game to be executive produced by the Bethesda game studio director Todd Howard. Bethesda tweeted to say a new Indiana Jones game with an original story is in development from our studio at Machines Games, and it will be executive produced by Todd Howard in collaboration with Lucasfilm Game. It will be sometime before we have more to reveal, but we're very excited to share it today. Okay, how much do I want to actually read out of this? All companies' logos, revolving program.
I mean, I can cut in.
Yeah,
Like, so, okay. Uh, Lucasfilm creating an Indiana Jones game. Cool. I'm in my mind's eye. I would like it to. I would anticipate it to play very similar to Jedi Fallen Order.
Ooh,
As
that
far
would
as
be
like
awesome.
the traversal and the movement and stuff like that, because it had a great movement system. Had a great mix of that like Shadow of the Tomb Raider with Uncharted kind of vibe to it. Which is I think where they would take this game. That would be about what would make sense. Um, a lot of finding like puzzle traversal stuff like that. It would play very well to the strengths of Indiana Jones. So I think that's where we would like to see that game be taken. Um, and with the team behind Wolfenstein, I'm hoping that just means that it's going to have really good level set design, which is something that Wolfenstein has done well. Um,
Can I get in real quick?
yeah,
I just love that it's being made by Machine Games. It's like they have really like nailed down this genre of attacking Nazis. This is like Wolfenstein attack Nazis, or Indiana Jones attack Nazis. This is
right.
like I just think that's really funny. Personally, and I'm sure like 20 like everyone's been making that joke, but like that's something that I just find very humorous about it.
Definitely. And I'm glad to see that Lucasfilms is coming back. Lucasfilms Games is coming back. Um, that gives me a lot of hope for the future of Star Wars games, which is a big thing. Obviously, Lucasfilm is known for. Um, we saw, extreme success with EA and Respawn making Jedi Fallen Order.
And
We know,
love
yeah,
that game.
yeah, and we know that's going to be a continued series. EA did not lose the license to make that, so I'm hoping that means that also not only will EA be making those games, but we'll see a lot more standalone games from Lucasfilm Games, as well as a new Battlefront 3. I and it remains to be seen. Like, yes, we know it's back. Are they going to do partner development? Are they going to do solo in-house development? As this looks now, it already looks like they're going to start doing partner development with the work that they're doing with Machine Games. So as much as that's coming back, I really hope it's the monetary aspect going into it, where they're going to be backed by Disney. They're going to be backed by a lot of money to develop these games, which is going to bring them into a AAA atmosphere. And who they're going to partner with going forward, outside of EA and Machine Games. That's what I'm excited to see.
Well, man, like we already got like some of that. So like we know that EA of course had the exclusivity deal with Star Wars games going up till 2023. But according to our next announcement, which was again the day after this, was open world Star Wars game in development at Ubisoft. It looks like they or that EA will no longer have that exclusivity deal on Star Wars games, and that they will be branching out, and or other people will get to be able to play with the Star Wars franchise. The
I
Ubisoft just
think I think they still truly hold the license, I believe, until
yeah
2023.
2023, but this next game I want to talk about is going to will probably be released post 2023. So
Right.
Ubisoft is working on a story-driven open-world Star Wars games with Lucasfilm Games, the division developer. Ubisoft Massive will develop the new game, according to Ubisoft CEO. Another name, Yves Guillemot. It marks the start of a long-term collaboration with Disney. No other gameplay details have been announced, and Massive is actively recruiting for the project. The game will utilize the Snowdrop engine used for the studio's Division games. Division 2 director Julian Girty will direct this project too. No indication has been given as to whether a massive Star Wars game would be a single or multiplayer, what part of the Star Wars timeline it would be a part of, or when it might be released. So this is like, yeah, this is like we're getting more people are going to be able to play with Star Wars now.
Right. And I mean, do I think Ubisoft was the first I would have chosen to run a Star Wars game? No. I'm not a big fan of the Division. I'm not a big fan of Breakpoint. I'm playing through Assassin's Creed Valhalla now, which is okay. But specifically talking about like the Division engine, that engine, it's got its problems. It's got its limitations. It's an okay engine. Um, I'm just hoping that it's just going to be just that, just the engine for the game, not so much set design, level design, playability, stuff like that. Just simply because I don't, I don't want another third person, uh, story. They say story driven, but Division has technically got a story to it as well. It's just a multiplayer story. So, waiting to hear more about it at this point, I am apprehensive. And especially with Division's focus on classing, specking, creating characters that way, and through random loot drop. It's not the way I want to do my Star Wars game in particular. If you want to do like a branching story where like you can choose where you're going to start, you're going to choose to start from the Jedi Order, you're going to choose to start with the Empire as somebody who trained to be a stormtrooper. There's different things that you could do, and where it's going to land in the timeline is really going to depend on the characters you're going to use and the amount of attraction to the game as well.
Dom?
I don't know. I'm stuck on this one because realistically, Lucasfilms was. I think Disney just brought that out to be like, all right, we need to pump out more Star Wars games because I mean, let's be real, this is Disney here, and they just want some money. And when what did EA release? EA released Battlefront,
Two.
Battlefront 2, Fallen Order, and Squadrons, and a
Right.
mobile game, some weird mobile game. So really
Yeah.
only 5 games in that time. Before that, when Lucasfilms was Lucasfilms, we got, oh my dude, there was like a plethora of Star Wars games all over the place. So on one end, I'm happy because more Star Wars games. Some were stinkers, some weren't. But regardless, we're just going to get more Star Wars games. Could they be cash grabs? Could they be like, and it came at a weird time for me because I don't know if you guys have played Fallen Order, but that game is
Yep.
freaking great. Like
Yep.
that was
Beat it
such
the
a
other day.
good game. Oh my
Yep.
gosh, the game is awesome. And I want more of that. So that's kind of where the
Right.
bar is set for me. And I feel like it's gonna be still far and few between that we actually get that, which kind of sucks.
Me, what I'm interested in the most isn't really like Star Wars. Like I want to see other Star Wars. I want to see different types of Star Wars. But I'm not someone who's gonna sit here and be like, oh, this is what I want to see. I'm willing to like wait, see what comes out, and we'll see what happens. But like what I'm actually really curious with is like the lesser name stuff. I know Double Fine's been picked up by Microsoft, but I would love to see them approach Tim Schafer and see like, hey, like we have all he did like all these smaller games that like are cult classics like oh Grim Fandango, Day of the Tentacle, stuff like that. I want and I'm kind of a big fan of Double Fine's games. Like I haven't played all their games, but like every time I picked up a Double Fine game, I've really enjoyed it. So I would love to see maybe approach Tim Schafer and talk to Tim Schafer and like maybe he does another small game or something up on one of those universes. That's something I'd personally more interested to hear about or see.
Fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, as
But
long as they release good games, I'd be all right with that. As
hmm,
long as it's not
Yeah.
like shovelware, move cash grab
and
stuff,
Right.
this and the fourth.
and going back to like what Dom was saying about games that they have released, it's just like Battlefront 2 is just like I was like that came out around the time that I was working at GameStop, and like so much of the conversation about that game was like how poorly they had tried to monetize that post launch, and apparently like it's gone back, they fixed it, they changed it up, but like so much of like that's kind of like one of those games that like we talk about in like the same vein. And it's like kind of like a little bit how we're talking about Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk's a whole different story right now. But like when that game came out, that was the big hot thing to talk about was how badly the microtransactions in the game had come through, and that's something I still associate with that game.
Right.
Yeah, that
Which
was bad.
which is another thing that's crazy about Star Wars games, right? Because we had the backlash of monetization on Battlefront 2 of adding characters, stuff like that. Um, and then but then you flip the coin, and it's the same side of the coin when you look at Fallen Order and you look at Star Wars Squadrons, both games that were critical successes. Obviously they were single player rather than multiplayer. Well, no, I mean Squadron was very multiplayer, but both of those games, the community almost begged for DLC. Fallen Order,
Oh
people
yeah,
would
dude.
love to have more story on Fallen Order.
I'd be
People and
stoked.
Squadrons love to have more maps to play on, more ships to fly. So there's a bit of that dichotomy when it comes to the gaming industry, that what is monetization, what is DLC, what is worth a new release, and that's what I'm waiting to see as far as the new games come out. If they're going to be multiplayer, is it going to be loot boxes? Is it going to be cosmetics? Is it going to be stuff like that? Or is it going to go the way of more story, a la Witcher 3 or Horizon Zero Dawn, that style? It was monetization because they added, it was more to pay for a game you already paid for, but it was worth it because it added so much more content.
Yeah, I think you're right. As long as it's justifiable, right? Like you can
Right.
truly oh, I'm gonna get more in this. I like it. I'm down. Where it's like, oh, pay $5 for Anakin. It's like, ooh, I don't know if I want that.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so guys, I think been going over for a bit over an hour now. So I think we've hit all the big articles that I wanted to talk about in today. All One thing that I would like to do real quick, because I kind of breezed past it when we were starting today. All was what we've been playing recently. And I kind of see if we can just do that real quick before we head off for the day for the week. So, Dom, do you want to start us off with what you've been playing and maybe talk about anything that you're looking forward to?
So I'm still trying to get this platinum for Sackboy, which one of the trophies is just freaking ridiculous. It's a freaking marathon of just it's ridiculous. But I also started Spider-Man remastered for PS5, and it's all right. Like I don't think it's just like crazy, like oh my like mind blowing generation defining game. It's a Spider-Man game. It's a solid Spider-Man game. I mean, um, it's the only annoying parts is anytime you have to play anyone but Spider-Man, like those freaking Mary Jane parts are so annoying.
Oh yeah, I feel
They're
like I hate
really
stealth sections.
so terrible. Even the one with Miles, there's one part where you're like, "Oh, Miles has to go home," and he's like, "Well, let's take this shortcut," and it's just like, why am I taking this shortcut that has me hiding from the Sable people? Like, what is it? What this is? I'm going home. I'm literally just walking home. Why do we need to make this a stealth section? This is just like annoying. But yeah, still finishing that up. And then in terms of what I'm looking forward to, oof, definitely 3D World Deluxe. We have Bravely Default, which is next month. I don't know if I'll be getting that day one. But honestly, right now the biggest thing is Resident Evil 8. Like I'm really stoked for that. I'm a big fan of Resident Evil, so I'm pretty happy for that. It's probably the biggest thing. What about you, Travis?
So I mean, I've been actually out of work for the last couple of weeks due to an injury, so I've been home playing a lot more games. So I recently finished up Jedi Fallen Order,
Yeah, game's
finally,
awesome.
because I was waiting for the next gen performance
Oh
upgrade.
shoot, they did
Right.
do. Oh
Yeah,
crap!
Yeah.
that was in my thing, but I kind of
Yeah.
went by it.
Yeah, that's why I was going to also touch on it here. But like, so Series X, have it running on a 4K monitor. It's got 1 millisecond refresh rate, so I was able to get as high a performance as I could possibly do without switching up monitors, going and buying out new stuff. But game looks incredible. Plays incredible. Definitely not 100% there. The performance was definitely there, but there was a couple of graphical glitches that I ran into with it. But beat that game, absolutely fantastic. Highly recommended if somebody hasn't checked that out,
Man, that was
who
such a good
enjoys the
game.
Star Wars universe. And I'm playing through. I got a little bit left of Cyberpunk to finish up. About 95% of the way done with the game. And I'm also playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla and checking that out. Kind of a slow game. Definitely not for those who are looking for something for high action to at least start. It is definitely a bit of a grind. It's a bit of a slog to get started, but overall, been enjoying it. As far as what I'm looking forward to, honestly, I don't have a lot on my horizon. But excuse me, my backlog is games deep, incredible amount of games deep. So I don't have anything immediately that I'm looking forward to. I'm super curious about how Monster Hunter is going to play. That's going to be one that I'm definitely going to check out probably shortly after day one, if not day one, just because I did enjoy playing Monster Hunter World. So that one's on my radar. And then whenever we actually get to see a release of Far Cry 6, newest entry, super excited about that. It's one of the few Ubisoft games that I follow religiously. I've played every single one of. So I'm really excited to see where they take the new series, new location, new characters, all that.
All right, cool. And I've been playing more Persona 5 Royal. I'm like this close to getting to where I was when I was playing original Persona 5. So I've beaten the first two palaces and I'm working on getting into the third right now. And also jumped back I've jumped back and tried playing a bit of Ocarina of Time just for old time's sake. It's just like it's it's video game comfort food. It's just like I know that game so like at least the first three dungeons so well to like just get through those sections real quick, and then it's like post child link that like my memory's a bit fuzzy on. So like I'm looking forward to getting to that section of the game, but like I've we've been streaming here on twitch.tv/the Hylian, so I'm trying to do that a bit more now and try and get that out there. Oh, Travis, as you are a guest, and hopefully we'd like to have you on here a bit more often. Do you want to shout out any of your social channels, anything that people
Yeah,
can follow you on if you like?
definitely. So I'm going to plug a couple of things. You can follow me on Instagram. That's I am Phantom 442. That's IAM Phantom 442. That's where you're going to find where I'm going to post most of anything that's going on with me is on Insta. I would also like to plug, because I have the opportunity, my girlfriend's Instagram as well, at Bunny Gems. She has a lot of resin and knitting crafts that she's been doing, so definitely check her out if you're into that in the kawaii fashion. And if you follow me on Instagram, hit me with a DM if you guys want to play some Warzone, anything like that. Always down to play with new people. We'll go ahead and share gamer tag on there.
All right, cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Dom, do you have anything that you want to finish out today with?
Hmm. Nothing I can really think of, honestly. I think we pretty much touched on a pretty
I mean,
good chunk of stuff.
All
plug
right.
your Instagram.
All right, cool. Well, we have our the links to our Instagram and everything that were put in the description for everything, and hopefully we'll see you guys next week. All right, have a good
Have a good
week.
week.